So, reading the New York Times, International Edition, June 1st. So, we have, interestingly enough, side by side, let the UN save Gaza's children. Wow, you have to be so ignorant to write this. Catherine Russell doesn't sound like she's from the Middle East. I am from the Middle East, and I have an opinion too. As a friend of mine used to say, an American friend of mine said, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. So she says, on the morning of May 15th, Miran Mohammed was helping her grandfather bake bread at his home in Bet Lachia, a town in northern Gaza. Given the scarcity of food, the 7-year-old Miran was hungry and eager to have a piece of freshly baked bread. She wouldn't get the chance. Miran's mother insisted she wait to eat until the family returned to their home. As they entered the home, it was hit by an airstrike, collapsing the top of them, causing them both serious injuries. Miran is now a patient at El Al-Hil Arab Hospital. Doctors tell us her legs are permanently damaged. She's one of the more 3,700 children under 18 years old in Gaza reported to have been wounded since the end of the recent ceasefire in mid-March. And there's numbers here of children killed, and the threat of famine growing day by day. The plight of Gaza's children will surely worsen. According to the latest analysis from the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, a tool used by the UNICEF. What has UNICEF? Oh, UNICEF. I've got a lot to say about UNICEF. Did you know Catherine Russell and the people reading the New York Times International Edition that UNICEF workers participated in the massacre of October 7th that included murdering, burning, raping, and kidnapping, and still holding hostages in Gaza. So at first you feel compassion towards the people, then you realize, wait, who's causing this? Who says no to a ceasefire? Who says no to returning the hostages? Who says no to stop being a terror threat to Israel and vowing to massacre every man, woman, and child in Israel, whether Arab or Jewish? It's the Hamas who's running the place, not Israel, by the way. Israeli soldiers are there, but they're not running the place. They're not making decisions about releasing hostages. UN has done nothing for the hostages, has done nothing to end the crisis. Quite the opposite. The UN runs schools, taught children Nazi propaganda, which is interesting because there's an article about idyllic village built for Nazis in Berlin. So the numbers, who's supplying these numbers? Are the numbers given by the Hamas or what? We cannot deny that innocent people are being killed, if you call them innocent, because Hamas is responsible, not the UN. They say Israel's 2-month blockade of aid now unevenly lifted. Who's supplying aid for Gaza? It's Israel. Trucks full of food. Who's not allowing the population food? It's the Hamas who's stealing the aid. So Israelis have to defend kids, children from Gaza, from the people that run Gaza. So can we give the soldiers who are being killed in Gaza, trying to defend the men, women, and children of Israel, whether Arabs or Jews, can we give them some credit? Can we give Israel credit? No. It's always Israel is the bad ones, the UN are the good ones. But if we look at facts, the opposite is true. The UN has done nothing for the people of Gaza. They've actually encouraged children to become martyrs, to become extreme Islamist, Nazi-like ideology from Adolf Hitler. The hospitals were used for hiding terrorists and hostages and weapons, still are. We had rocket attack yesterday. Just yesterday we had a rocket attack from Gaza. What would you do if your children were under the threat of rockets? What would you do if you were under the threat of terrorists? And your people were kept hostage. So the starving children are being starved by the Hamas, by their own people. So let's look at facts and not falsify. And now we talk about Berlin, where let's see what they're saying. Tomorrow is the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. But fascism is again taking root in Germany. Over the next few weeks, about 40 neighbors got together lighting candles in their front gardens as part of national-wide chain of lights protest against hate and hanging pro-democracy signs in their windows. They live in an estate built by perpetrators. The quiet little neighborhood Waldscheidlung for Forest Estate Krumme Lanke is a sought-after place to live in the German capital. Named after an adjacent lake, its residents compare it to fairy tale village. Let's see what happened. Let me see. Life here also means channeling Germany's brutal past. The neighborhood was built in the lead up to World War II, elite community for SS, the elite guard of the Nazi Reich. The settlement was designed to embody the Nazi blood and Boden. This is not unlike Gaza, that was becoming a racist. There were Mein Kampf. Hitler's ideology was taught in schools run by the UN in Gaza. And we don't have an answer to why. Why would you teach children this horrible, hateful ideology? And especially since they are taught that the Jews are the enemy, not fascism. So we have history being unearthed. Germany's nearly century-long quest to both remember and forget. Hannah Arendt called it banality of evil, said Matthias Donat, a historian specializing in Berlin's Nazi architecture, in an email. Recently, Mr. Donat's research made headlines when he was able to draw a direct line from Waldscheidlung Krumme Lanke to Auschwitz, where former village resident Joachim Caesar was the head of the agricultural operations. The residents found ideal living conditions, and ideal, he said, at the same time they planned monstrous crimes. How the residents here have reckoned with the past or not has followed larger cultural trajectories. For decades it was swept under the rug. One method of survival in destroyed, morally devastated Germany was repression. As a result, some of the village's residents are unaware of its history until neighbors tell them about it. Some people say it's 80 years ago. It has nothing to do with me, said Suzanne Gutler, 67, a teacher of disabled children who moved here with her family in 2000. For me, it's the opposite. I want to know what happened here in my house. It's intimidating to hear about families drowning themselves in the Krumme Lanke or hanging in the attic, but you can't move forward with silence. As time passes and the last eyewitnesses die, physical locations are increasingly important to remembering the Holocaust. Place is connection, says Christoph Kreutzmüller, an historian and chairman of the Active Museum, Fascism and Resistance, a Berlin Citizens Action Group, organized in 1983 to mark the 50th anniversary of the Nazis' seizure of power. People want to find out where they live. Not so much is known about the daily life on the SS estate. There was certainly a place where quality of life was predicted on plunder. If you go to the Forest Estate in 1943, how many women would you see wearing fur coats? Said Kreutzmüller. Probably they all had fur coats, and they all came from murdered Jews. Historians agreed that as the Red Army approached, some families fled while others likely died by suicide. The SS estate was not a place to hide, said a historian with the Leibniz Center for Contemporary History. During a recent walk through the development, the soldiers may well have come upon a peaceful estate. You don't see any bullet holes. Then opened doors to find dead bodies floating on the Krumme Lanke lake. What a horrible place. After the war, the abandoned homes were given a new purpose. now located in Berlin's American sector,